Well, my connectors arrived today. Little box of DuPont connectors. They're kind of like what you're used to for RC, but I've used them for 50 years on all sorts of electronics. You can see that one's got 6 pins in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pins in it. So here's a bunch of single pins. Two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 pin DuPont connectors, females. And then in here's some what I refer to as snap headers. Might not be what these are. Have both the female version here in my fingers, and there's some male in here someplace. Be nice to have 2 hands. And here's the male version of them, and these are 41 pins. There's several of them in there. 41 pins, and basically you just count over how many you want, and you pop them. There's a little scoring mark where my thumbnail is. So you count over 7 if you want 7, and you snap them right there. That's why we call them snap headers. Then the part that's on the bottom right now solders down into the board, and the larger part sticks up. And then that's what one of the connectors, the female, would go into and complete a circuit. Not really rocket science here. And that's why I boogered that thing up yesterday so badly. These come with the Mudnark RC LED controller. Don't fully understand some of these because these were just really big to solder through that board, and you could put these in, solder through. You could actually put them in like that, and you'd have both female on this side and male to connect to on this side. I guess that's what those big ones are meant for. I don't know. There was 2 of those. There was 2 of these. This is what I soldered onto the board itself. I counted over 5 and snapped it. And I put 5 of them on the board. Just like that. My soldering is getting a little better. And this was the one I boogered up, because this was, I counted over 5 on this. So this would be the connector that I pushed down on it last night when I did that video. And I again counted over 5 and snipped it with a pair of dikes, diagonal cutters. And this is why I boogered it up so much. These pins are actually meant to go through the board. Oh, there we go. I should use a tripod more often. They're meant to go through the board like that. And then be soldered in to make female connectors to all those solder pads if you wanted to. Oops. See, there's not much sticking through the board. But last night I used the other one of these that came with it to make that little connector I put on top. And like I say, just having that little short piece to solder to with my 4 wires, I really melted up and boogered up the DuPont connector. The other one of these that came with my Dart RC. So I guess those could be used for all the way through the board and having male on one side and female on the other. And like I said, I used the other one of these, sorted the other one of these onto the board, and then I got these in today where I actually have a 5-pole DuPont connector here, and I've got the little 5 pins that I have to solder onto the end of those wires and then put the pins in the DuPont connector, and I will have the solution. Won't be as boogered up as the one I showed you yesterday. So that's what I'm working on here. I've worked with these connectors and pins for years. These things are something else. This is one of the little pins, and you can see there's basically 3 parts to it. This is the female pin part out here. Right above that, I guess there's 4 parts. Right above that is a little piece of metal that comes up and locks on the DuPont connector. Then back here is a little collar-like thing. Oops. That's what actually crimps around the conductor. And then this back part here actually crimps around the insulation on the wire as kind of a little strain relief. But sometimes the back one gets bent in so that the ends poke through the insulator and also makes a contact. But it's kind of a little strain relief. And then myself, I always touch them right in where this center part is with just a very, very little bit of solder after I crimp them on the wire. So let's see if I can do one of them. So there's kind of what I want. I want that conductor to go right there where that first collar will crimp around it. Then I want the insulator where these back 2 will actually crimp around the insulator. Does that make sense? I hope you can see that. See if I can get this to focus. I think you can barely see that the back 2 little pieces of metal are going to be crimped around that red insulation. Man, I wish I had a manual focus on this. I do not. And then the second little collar-like thing is going to be crimped around that conductor. And there it is with just a touch of solder right where the one little crimp is. And that's it. That is on there to stay. That is not going to come off. And then that goes down inside the DuPont connector. Slides down in the slot and it locks. This little piece of plastic, you can see right here, little piece of plastic in the back, that locks that pin in that DuPont connector. Now I've got to duplicate that 3 more times before I actually lock these pins down in there. So I duplicated that 3 more times, 4 little wires. So all I have to do now is insert these into the connector. Let's see. Yeah. There we go. Push them in. Let me do this off camera. And there you have it. Now that connector will go on just like that. There you go. That's the end of that. Oops, one of them came out just a little bit. That does happen. There it is. Much better than that garbage yesterday. All right. Oops. There we go. That's how it goes on. Get the right pins on the right place. All right. Well, that's the end of that.